Payback. When I was asked to be best man today, I was over the moon. Until I realised you still have to buy a present. And speaking of presents, the seating plan today is in order of gift value, so in the corners, dig a bit deep in it. On behalf of the bridesmaids, I'd like to thank Greg for his kind words. They really have done an excellent job today in assisting Joe. And what a fabulous day it's been so far. The weather's held out, and the service went very well. And it was a first for me, because I've never been to a wedding that was officiated by a woman before. And I can't decide which surprises me more, that a woman married Greg and Joe, or that a woman married Greg at all. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Tim, Greg's younger cousin, and I have been almost all my life. Now when we were younger, we lived hundreds of miles apart, and that really suited us both well. But in recent years, we've lived on each other's doorsteps, and as Greg mentioned, we've been all over the country together, supporting Manchester United, the league and European champions. Each other's houses apart, and we generally spend more time together than is really healthy. In fact, I'm sick of the sight of him. But that said, when he asked me to be his best man, I was of course incredibly honoured, if a little daunted by the responsibility to go at the task. But all that's left for me now is to simply give Greg the most uncomfortable 10 minutes of his life. But Joe, I'm going to give you yours later. I'd like to welcome you all. Thank you for helping us celebrate this wonderful occasion and these magnificent surroundings. You all look marvellous, as do the bridesmaids and flower girls. But the real star of the show today is Joe, who looks absolutely amazing. Greg, you truly are a lucky man. And that hasn't always been the case. Generally speaking, Greg is one of the unluckiest people I've ever met. It started when he was 3. His leg running down the street. Now that's unlucky in itself, but it was a week before his mum and dad realised and took him to hospital. Unfortunately, they acted a bit quicker when he ate some poisonous seeds his brother gave him. Still, the stomach pump's just a big adventure, that's it. His bad luck followed him until later years. He once broke his ankle standing on an empty cardboard box. Just a couple of weeks ago, he bought a sat-nav online and it got lost in the post. Although looking at most of them, you really got to wonder why. Last year he bought one with 4 matching doors. Within a week he had me around there, taking the red one off and putting the blue one on. But since he wrote that car off earlier this week, it doesn't really matter anymore. And just think, when you get your insurance payout, you'll be able to buy that new toothbrush you've had your eye on. It's not just Greg that suffers from his bad luck either. Everybody in the family's had their own slice of the pie, be it putting his foot through any number of walls or ceilings, or plumbing disasters, and even one dead pet. But to really understand Greg, one has to go back to his formative years. In Boston, in Manchester, in 1971, Noel Gregory Whittaker was born. An experience he found so shocking, it rendered him speechless for nearly 18 months. He's made up for his sin. He had a happy childhood in Boston, apart from breaking his leg. But when he was 6, the family moved to Devon. And as I didn't see him very much then, I've had to ask those who knew him at the time what kind of a kid he was. Cheeky, snot-nosed, far too much to say for himself, were all phrases that have been used, which I think's harsh, but if his dad isn't qualified. It came as no surprise to anybody. As soon as he was old enough, he was packed off to boarding school. Now this would have been daunting for most people, but Greg's always been a confident, independent person, and he took it in his stride. And let's face it, we all went to bed until we're 12. He threw himself into academic and non-academic activities. He even represented the school at shooting. And I'm reliably informed his interest in the shooting club had absolutely nothing to do with the crop of interesting mushrooms he found growing behind him. The teachers all admired Greg's responsible attitude. So much so that at 17 he was entrusted with running the sixth form bar. In over 100 years of history, it was the only time it's ever made a loss. But at 18, he wanted to return to his roots, and he got himself a place at University of Manchester. He was subsequently kicked out for dedication. Unfortunately, he was dedicated to utter laziness. He did eventually persuade them to let him back in, and in 1994 he got his degree in chemistry. Now, much to his disgust, following this, the government stopped giving him money. And he had to get a job to support him.
I've been there, yeah.
So after a bit of temping, he found himself a position at the chemical company AstraZeneca, where he spent 5 happy years, making lots of friends, many of whom he's still in touch with, and some are here today. He really loved his time there, and not just because he could steal cigarettes from the Beagles. He earned himself quite a reputation at AstraZeneca for being a footballing superstar, even earning himself the nickname Gazza. This, though, was before anybody had seen him kick a ball. It was much more to do with his unquestioned ability to talk a good game. When he played his first match, the cat leapt out of the bag, but it was too late and the nickname stuck. More in jest than as testament to any kind of ability. He's had 1 or 2 nicknames since then, many of which I can't mention. But what I will say is, the 45-minute kid is nowhere near as He does have his good points though. He's a loyal, decent human being, and there aren't enough of those around these days. He's independent and self-sufficient. He never relies on handouts from anybody. And as somebody myself who's not afraid to go to his own parents for bridging loans in town. His discipline has always amazed me. He's worked hard for and earned everything he's got. Well, everything that is, except £2 grand he got when he sued me. So I'll save that for the golden He also knows 12 different places where you can have a sneaky wee near Villa Park. That gives you useful information.
People pay for
One of
that.
my more pleasurable duties has been to organise a stag do, for which I received an explicit list of do's and don'ts from Joe. And when I say explicit, I don't mean detail. I think it went pretty well. Everybody seemed to have a good time, and I reckon I did everything that was required of me. We didn't lose anybody, I got the groom home safe and sound, and I did my absolute best to make sure there was no photographic evidence. Which some people seem to think is cause for criticism. It's a thankless. Greg played his part too, wearing his costume with the minimum of fuss. Although I was a bit disturbed, so when we told him he'd done his duty and he could take the costume off, he asked to keep the handbag on. And did so for the rest of the night. And we do have some photos.
It's really
Good luck with that, Joe. I've mentioned already how fantastic Joe is looking today, but it's worth repeating. And I'd also like to say how pleased I am that Greg's found somebody so perfect for him. A nurse with 17 different hangover cures. But in all seriousness, everybody can see how well suited these two are. And I'm so pleased you found each other. And you've now got so many happy years ahead of you together. So you are now married, for better or for worse. And Greg, you couldn't have done any better. It's funny how life comes full circle. Earlier on, Trevor was telling me that 25 years ago, he was sending her to bed with a dummy every night. Now, I'm a happy couple, fortunate enough to have almost everybody here that they wanted today. But I do just have one message to read out, so here it is. Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Whittaker. I'm truly gutted that I can't be there today to share your special day with you. And I can't begin to imagine what the single women at the wedding are going through. I'll be thinking of you both while I'm sat on the beach, drinking my beer and staring at the women with my mirrored sunglasses on, so I can't see my eyes. Hope you have had a wonderful day so far, and you have a wonderful life together ahead of you. See you soon, love, Phil.
Can't imagine what the single women are going through.
Now, it's customary for me to offer some words of advice to the newlyweds. And being very happily married myself, I decided to ask my wife what she thought the secret to our success was. But she wasn't talking to me at the time. So this is just for me. Joe, treat Greg like one of your plants. Stick him in the corner, keep him fed and watered, and if you go away for the weekend, get someone to check on him every now and then. Greg, always let Joe think she's having her own way. And the best way to do that is to let her. And finally, never, never go to sleep on an argument. It's much more fun to stay up and fight. Well, as I said to my wife on our wedding night, thanks for laughing. My talk is nearly over. Unfortunately for Joe, this is just beginning. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding. Let's drink a toast to the bride and groom.
Bride and groom.